Myles, it's been a while since we've seen you get back in the cage. How does it feel to get back in there Friday night?
It feels great to be here, great to be on a fight week again and going through the process. So really looking forward to getting in there now and performing. It feels good. It feels like I'm at home.
Does it make it any extra special facing a guy like Anthony Pettis, obviously a guy that's been in UFC, been around for a long time? Does it add any extra element to it?
No. I feel like that it's really important to focus on what I'm going to do, stay tunnel visioned, but it's always a treat to compete against somebody of his caliber, of course. It comes into play, but it's something that has to be at arm's length.
I gotcha. And last question for me, in terms of the matchup itself, what challenges do you feel you can bring to him on Friday night?
Pressure. I'm a pressure fighter. I'm a gritty fighter, and I bring an adaptable, a fine-tuned adaptability style to the cage. You know, I adapt to my opponent on the flow. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think that I don't want to be giving away everything, but yeah, I feel like I have a good game plan coming in on Friday.
Awesome. Thank you.
Hey, Myles.
Hey.
Welcome to Texas.
Thank you.
Do you feel any ring rush will play a factor versus Anthony and with the performance that he had last year in this matchup?
I wouldn't take that for granted how Anthony performed last year, and I also wouldn't take for granted my ring rust either. You know, I've taken that into consideration. I've sparred very, very hard this camp. I've put myself through hell in this camp, and over the last couple of years I've still been working on my martial arts, and ring rust comes down to the psychological side of things, you know. Of course it somewhat plays a factor. You can't be ignorant to it either. It's still there. That anxiety is still going to be there. It's just I've psychologically prepared myself so that it just kind of passes through me and it allows me to be in full flow on the night.
And how are you dealing with the emotions? It is fight week. It's here. You're just a few days away from competing, and you're here going to make your debut with PFL, and it's against a name like Anthony Pettis.
Emotions are part of being a human being, but in regards to being an athlete, it's your job to really fine-tune those emotions on fight week, and that's something I'm very, very good at. I'm huge on the psychology part of the game, and I meditate for an hour a day per se, and it's something that I really do feel like I bring as an advantage into my competition. And emotions are there, but they don't necessarily affect me, to be honest.
And as for me, excuse me, is there anything on the bucket list you want to check off while here in Texas?
I'd like to get a cowboy hat. That'd be cool. I'd like to go to the rodeo, stuff like that. So, you know, all the usual stuff. I went to a baseball game, which was sweet. I was gutted that there was no football game on. So I was like, no, wish your luck. I'll come back.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So you mentioned, your pressure being kind of like a thing that you're going to use in this fight, right? Historically, Anthony's kind of struggled with pressure fighters. So is that something that you kind of picked up on when looking at him?
Yes, but Anthony knows this too, doesn't he? Like, I mean, he knows that people take this in consideration, that they have the game plan. I know he's going to want to pressure me because that's how I've lost in the past. So I still can't just rush in there, and I have to be calculated with my pressure, you know? And I think building on that, the foundations of my game equal pressure. That's just part of my game anyway. So I'm just using what I already have.
And what do you make of him as a fighter at this point in his career versus, the champion in the UFC? Do you think his skills have fallen off a little bit, maybe lost a step? What do you make of him at this point?
Yeah, I think so, yeah, for sure. But still, you can never take that out of a champion. I feel, you can't take that away from the past Anthony Pettis. There's always going to be a little bit of that there within him. He's always going to have that dog. He's always going to have that skill, those reactions, that speed. I just wouldn't underestimate anything like that, really, to be honest with you. But when you're looking at it from a rational standpoint, the way it actually is, of course, he's not the UFC lightweight champion that he was right now.
And do you think people are kind of overlooking your resume? I've seen some people say, you haven't really fought anybody, but you've been in there with some tough guys, like Peter Quilley, for example. Do you think people are kind of overlooking what you've done in your career?
Of course, but people are always going to say that, aren't they? Like, no matter what, I could have a big list of great guys. I've had like over 100 professional kickboxing fights, and people don't know about. Like, I mean, I fought some great guys in my career, and you see this the whole time. Guys, they're always going to have an opinion about you as a person, you as an athlete. So at the end of the day, what really matters is how I shine under those lights. That's what really matters. So they can underestimate me all they want. It really doesn't make any difference to me, to be honest. It's baggage.
Thank you.
So we've been seeing the huge improvement and stardom of Ireland into the combat sports. And we're now heading Taylor. How do you visualize that Ireland will become? Do you think it will become something huge in the combat sports in a few years, or how do you see in a few years?
In general, combat sports? Yeah, for sure. I feel like it already is quite big. It's huge, and I feel like that Katie Taylor's accomplishments are massive. And I feel like, for me, she's probably the greatest sportsman to come out of Ireland, because she really stands for something meaningful. Like, it was illegal for female boxing when she started. That famous story of her having to pretend to be a boy to box. So she stands for something a little bit more than that, and that's where I feel like that she separates herself a little bit from other athletes. She represents something that is real meaning to the sport. She's changing the way the sport is. And I was just super happy for her last weekend, to be honest with you. I was proud, fan and sportsman to watch her.
Knowing how difficult is a playoff run in PFL, knowing that you have from 3 to 4 fights, how do you prepare yourself for this kind of tournament outside of preparing for maybe 1 or 2 fights a year?
I actually like it like that, to be honest with you. I know I haven't been the most consistent athlete. I'm 100% admit that. Like, I would go off and I do other things and I come back and all that. But I feel like the times I have actually fought back to back, I've performed really well. Like, so where I've had like a fight and then a month or 6 weeks later I'll fight again, and in that fight I'll do super well. So I feel like that it would really suit me, to be honest. I'm used to coming off long layoffs and winning, and I also have the experience of fighting back to back in short periods of time. So I think tomatoes, it suits me.
Thank you.
You've had a couple of different nicknames over the years with Magic and Splinter. What are the stories now between those, and what are you sticking with?
Magic came from, I fought for a promotion called Cage Contender back in the day, and I got a flying rear naked choke to win a title on the co-main event. That's kind of where the Magic nickname came from. The Splinter nickname just came from the whole fiasco between me and McGregor and the Habib thing, you know what I mean, the media thing. So it's just to play mind games and to win that kind of mind battle before I fought Quealy, because I knew it was going to be a big effect on the night, so one of many effects, but we're sticking with Magic. Yeah. I went to see the Dumbledore movie last night, The Secrets of Dumbledore, so.
What did you think of it?
I thought it was great, yeah, I thought it was a good movie. I love Harry Potter and all that, I think it's great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Myles, with the season format in the PFL, obviously there's quick turnarounds in between fights. What are your thoughts on just the activity level you'll get here in the PFL?
Looking forward to it. Really, that's it, really, yeah. Just really looking forward to it, yeah. I think it's great. I really like what they're doing here at PFL in regards to fighters' rights, in regards to, it's your responsibility to work your way up the ladder. There's not many politics involved there. And I like the way it's like busy and you just have your time off, Yeah.
Just a real quick one, you mentioned
Sure.
you went to the movies last night.
Yeah.
What's the difference in the movie theaters here and the ones back home?
Bigger portions. Which I like that, I said I wish I could eat it, but I couldn't eat it last night, but believe you me, I will over the weekend.
One question. So you said you like Harry Potter. What house are you in? You Gryffindor?
Slytherin. No. Gryffindor house, yeah,
Right.
for sure. It's great questions, the best ones ever.